Let me tell you something very simple but very powerful. After 60, life does not suddenly become less important, but it does become more sensitive. Every habit you repeat starts shaping your health like a silent sculptor. And one of the biggest silent dangers I've seen is this: what happens when you stop moving? Not stop working, not stop earning, but simply stop moving your body. Let's understand this together, like a conversation between friends. After the age of 60, the human body is no longer focused on rapid growth. It shifts into a phase of maintenance, balance, and preservation. And in this phase, one simple truth becomes extremely important. The body remembers what you repeatedly do and it forgets what you stop doing. When a person reduces movement, the muscles slowly begin to lose their memory of strength. It is not an emotional memory, but a biological one. Muscles are like obedient students, they respond to regular practice. If you walk daily, they stay alert. If you stretch daily, they remain flexible. But if you stop using them, they quietly begin to shrink in capacity. This is why many elders say, I don't know what happened, I just feel weak suddenly. But in reality, it was not sudden. It was a slow withdrawal from movement over months or even years. Even simple things like standing up from a chair, climbing stairs, or carrying light objects begin to feel heavier. Not because life became harder, but because the body stopped rehearsing these actions. There is also another silent change. Coordination reduces. Balance becomes slightly less stable. The body hesitates before movement, and hesitation often leads to fear. Fear leads to less movement, and less movement leads to further weakness. It becomes a cycle. But here is the hopeful truth: the body also remembers recovery. Even after long inactivity, gentle movement can reawaken strength. A short walk, light stretching, slow breathing exercises, these act like reminders to the muscles. You are still needed. The body is not punishing you, it is responding to your pattern. And if the pattern changes, the body responds again. So the real question is not how old are you? The real question is how consistently are you moving today? Because strength is not lost in one day of rest, it is lost in many days of stillness. The heart is one of the most faithful organs in the human body. It works every second without complaint from the moment we are born. But like all systems, it thrives on rhythm and challenge. When you walk or engage in physical activity, even gently, the heart pumps blood more actively. This strengthens its efficiency. It learns to distribute oxygen better, regulate pressure better, and support the body with ease. But when movement decreases significantly after 60, the heart receives less of this training. It is still working, yes, but at a lower level of demand. And slowly, it adapts to that lower demand. Now, here is the subtle issue. When the body suddenly requires effort like climbing stairs, walking longer distances, or carrying something, the heart is not as prepared as before. It needs more time to adjust. That is when people feel breathless or unusually tired. Blood circulation also becomes slower in inactive lifestyles. This affects not just the heart, but the entire body. Oxygen delivery to muscles reduces. Even digestion and energy production become less efficient. Many people mistake this as just old age, but a large part of it is actually reduced activity age. The heart is not asking for extreme exercise. It is not asking for strain. It is simply asking for consistent, gentle movement. A 20 to 30-minute walk, slow breathing in fresh air, light stretching. Because for the heart, movement is not stress, it is nourishment. There is a beautiful principle here: what you use wisely, you strengthen. What you ignore slowly weakens. And the heart is no exception. So after 60, the goal is not intensity. The goal is rhythm, a daily rhythm of movement that tells the heart, you are still supported, you are still active, you are still alive in motion. A calm mind is a blessing, but a slowed, inactive mind is not the same as a peaceful one. When physical movement decreases, the brain receives less stimulation from the body. Movement increases blood flow and oxygen supply to the brain. It also triggers the release of chemicals that support alertness and emotional balance. So, when a person stops moving regularly, the brain gradually begins to operate in a lower gear. At first, it may feel like simple forgetfulness, misplacing items, forgetting names, losing track of small details. Over time, focus may reduce. Conversations may feel harder to follow. Decision making may feel slower. And then something subtle happens. Confidence in thinking begins to reduce. People start doubting their memory more often. They hesitate before speaking. They withdraw from mentally engaging activities. Not because they cannot think, but because their brain is receiving less activation. This is why movement is deeply connected to mental sharpness. Even a simple walk can improve cognitive clarity. The rhythm of walking, the change in scenery, the breathing pattern, all of it activates the brain gently but effectively. There is also an emotional layer here. When the body is inactive, thoughts tend to loop more. The mind replays worries, memories, and fears more frequently because there is less external engagement. Movement breaks that loop. It shifts attention outward. It refreshes the mental space. So the mind is not becoming weak because of age alone. It is becoming less stimulated due to inactivity. And the good news is this: the brain remains adaptable even in older age. It responds beautifully to consistent movement and engagement. A moving body supports a clearer mind. A stagnant body often leads to a cluttered mind. Bones are often thought of as static structures, but they are actually living tissue. They respond to pressure, movement, and load. When you walk, stand, or even gently exercise, your bones receive signals to maintain strength. But when movement reduces significantly after 60, these signals decrease. Over time, bone density may reduce. Joints may become stiff. Flexibility may decrease. The body begins to feel heavier, not because it has changed overnight, but because it has slowly adapted to inactivity. This is why simple actions like bending, standing for long periods, or walking on uneven surfaces may start to feel uncomfortable for many elders. It is also why fear of falling becomes common, not just because of external risk, but because internal stability feels reduced. However, bones are remarkably responsive. They do not weaken permanently without movement, they respond to disuse and they respond again to use. Even gentle weight bearing activities like walking, standing, or light stretching can signal bones to stay active and strong. The key idea is simple: bones strengthen through use, not rest alone. So when movement stops, weakening begins quietly. But when movement returns, strength begins to rebuild quietly as well. Energy is one of the most misunderstood aspects of aging. Many people believe energy simply fades with age. But in reality, energy is deeply connected to lifestyle patterns, especially movement. When a person stops moving regularly, metabolism slows down. Blood circulation reduces efficiency. Oxygen delivery becomes less dynamic. As a result, the body feels heavier and slower. This is why even small tasks can start to feel tiring, not because they are difficult, but because the internal systems are not fully activated. But here is something important: energy is not only about physical strength, it is about flow. When the body moves, energy flows. When the body is still for too long, energy feels trapped. That is why even a short walk can completely change how someone feels within minutes. It is not magic, it is physiology. Movement wakes up the system. And over time, consistent movement rebuilds baseline energy levels. People often rediscover vitality they thought was gone forever. So, energy is not just a memory of youth, it is a result of daily activation. Emotions and movement are deeply connected. When the body moves, emotional tension is released. When the body is still for long periods, emotions often settle and intensify internally. After 60, if movement reduces significantly, emotional sensitivity may increase. Small worries may feel larger. Loneliness may feel heavier. Thoughts may loop more frequently. This is not weakness of character. It is reduced physical release of emotional pressure. Walking, stretching, and even gentle outdoor exposure help regulate mood. They create natural emotional balance through body brain interaction. Without movement, emotional energy has fewer outlets. It accumulates internally. But with movement, emotions flow more freely and mental clarity improves. After 60, movement is not about fitness goals or comparison. It is about preserving dignity, independence, clarity, and emotional balance. Because the moment the body stops moving, life does not just slow down physically, it begins to shrink in experience. And life, even in its later chapters, is meant to be lived, not paused.